We're both mothers and we have children at the same time and we love them at the same time. It's so interesting. But when it comes to more than one wife, that impossible. You can't do that. That's not true. Men can, but that doesn't mean they love us any less.
Assalamu alaikum, peace. It's Coach Nyla.
And Coach Fatimah.
And we are excited for this webinar for today. Well, I can't say this evening. Let us know where you guys are chiming in from. Where are you watching this webinar from? We're so excited because it's really some good information that we have for you guys, and a great announcement as well. So, but we want to give you guys some time to share this. Sharing is caring. Make sure you're sharing and getting something to write with, something to write on. Because we're going to be dropping some gems, doing a nice amount of training about, if you guys haven't seen or if you didn't see the title, we had it as increasing your emotional bandwidth. And you're like, what does that mean? What does that mean? It's like creating, increasing your emotional intelligence, increasing your emotional know-how. Excuse me. So we're able to operate at a higher level in our marriages, operate at a higher level in our lives, all that other good stuff. Apparently, my voice don't want to act right today. Apparently, I'm working with my new throat, so I'm trying to figure out how to work it. So if I happen to kind of clear my throat from time to time, please excuse me. Not trying to do it on purpose, right? So yes.
Yeah, we wanted to bring this information to you all today because we've been DM'd, we've been emailed, we've been DM'd in our IG messages, and we've coached and counseled many that have asked, how do you all do it? How do you stretch yourself to the point where you can have a closeness? And let us just say, please, please, please do not compare your chapter 1 to our chapter 12.
Right.
Like I knew he was broke.
It's back up to chapter 4. No, it's been longer than that.
Yeah, because we've really invested a lot of time, a lot of years, and a lot of personal development into getting where we are today. So what you see is not the beginning result. It's that we're more toward the end result because we've had to do a lot of individual work.
Right.
So it's not just I wait on Coach Nyla to fix my stuff. She waits on me to fix her. We wait on our husband to fix everything and everyone. That's not how it works. So we're really going to get into how it works. And this is not quick fix. Okay. I just mentioned that. And it is also something that we're focusing on because we want to talk about the long-term health and success of being in polygyny. Okay. That does not mean, disclaimer, hello, that doesn't mean you're not going to have rough days. That doesn't mean it's, what is it, Coach Nyla, sunshine and rainbows
and kittens and unicorns
and little leprechauns. And none of that. But what we're saying is that there's hope and there's possibility. And in order to do this work, you must stretch yourself. So we talk about bandwidth. That's about that growth and stretching yourself and coming out of your comfort zone because nothing grows there, period. It just doesn't. And we know that, and we're living proof of that. So this is not for clicks, for likes, for follows, for any of that. We're really telling you what's going to work and what will not work. Because if you don't change, don't expect anything around you to change. You're going to keep getting the same thing you've been getting if you're not willing to change who you are to be a better you. And this is what this work is about. We couldn't be coaches if we didn't go walking through the fire, walking through the fire, so we don't have to walk through the fire. So
and it's about being intentional. It's about being intentional. So we definitely congratulate you for taking the time out, investing in yourself, being here, because even though that it is not of any cost or price or whatever to you. Hopefully the value is great. And not only that the value is great, that you are still investing your time. See, money we can get back, time we can't. So when it comes to what we are doing in this webinar, what we'll be sharing with you, inshallah, God willing, will be of utmost benefit to you and what you want to accomplish in your marriages, what you want to accomplish in your life, inshallah, God willing. Even though we put a lot of emphasis on polygyny, even though you are watching two wives who are in a polygynous marriage, meaning that we are married to one man, we're not married to each other, nothing like that. One man married to two wives or multiple wives, that's polygyny. Sometimes people have an issue with us saying polygyny, but polygyny is the specific form of that type of marriage. It goes under the umbrella of polygamy, and polygamy just means that a person married to multiple spouses. So you have polygyny, which is a man married to multiple women, and you have polyandry, which is a woman married to multiple husbands. We're not doing that, so we're not talking about that in here. That's something that we are not discussing. But the main thing is about emotional intelligence, emotional bandwidth, and that can be utilized regardless if you are practicing polygyny or if you're practicing monogamy. It does not matter. But we will get into the pretty much the meat and potatoes of it all. Inshallah, God willing, you guys are ready. So
off we go. One thing that we noticed, and this can be really across the board, the way that men in polygyny handle polygyny and the way wives, husbands in polygyny handle it, and the way wives handle it is much different because we have a whole different set of rules, a whole different set of goals. We're not each other. We're not the same sexes. There's difference. There's a difference between us. If you don't know that, you're gonna have to reevaluate your body and check out your landscape because there is a difference. And so the way in which we operate, even if you're in monogamy, you still don't have the same set of responsibilities that your husband has. I didn't have it. Coach Nyla was in monogamy. Now we're both in polygyny. So we know there's a difference. And there especially is a difference when a man is in polygyny because he's got maybe two sides, because he's got two wives. He might have three, he might have four. So he gets the benefit and the responsibility of hearing everything. And we don't have that. So what happens is people get on us about this one. You guys always talk about the male objectives. You don't ever talk about the women's objectives. I'm telling you from experience. I'm telling you because a lot of the people that we've worked with, really awesome ladies, they are the ones that are saying, these are my sets of concerns. The men typically are dealing with another area of concerns. They're dealing with, okay, how can I make this the best experience it can be for everyone? How can I deal with the different emotions? How can I deal with the financial responsibilities and balancing that as a man? It's much different. The focus is different. So we know that what we focus on is what we're going to be thinking about constantly. So that's why we want to really focus on emotions, because the women, the wives, are the ones that are really trying to figure it out about being emotional and how do I cope or handle or navigate it all? How do you do it and you're okay? We're emotional all the time. We're always running with different emotions all day long. So we're emotional beings. So we're not trying to say get rid of the emotion. We're talking about how to navigate it in a healthy way so that the emotions that you're experiencing, they don't start to run you. And then what's going to happen is if they start to run us in a negative way, then we're going to start to run people away, especially our spouses. So this is very important to talk about. So our emotions involve effort, whether they're negative or positive. I've never sat there and it was effortless to just sit there and just be negative. No, you got to think to be negative and you got to think to be positive.
My co-wife and I decided to conduct a polygamy masterclass.
Yes.
A women's polygamy masterclass. It's the first of its kind. We've done it before, but this one a little bit more intensive, actually a lot more intensive
Yes,
than the
ma'am.
first one was. And we're really excited about it. And we definitely state the first of its kind because what we didn't have that.
We
We
you
didn't
girls
have
didn't
that.
have nada.
And even still looking for these things
Mm-hmm.
and looking for different tools and resources to help our clients out and these different things like that to supplement the things that we do and the trainings and the coaching that we do as well. It's not really easy to find those things. As my co-wife said
Exactly.
earlier, that polygamy does not get, or polygyny, and polygyny specifically, does not get its fair share of airplay. They don't talk about it much, and if it is talked about, it's talked about negatively because it's so taboo.
Right.
And the thing is that it's been around before even monogamy was around.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing is, I know some people will say, well, since the beginning of time, it was Adam and Eve, and it was always monogamy and this and that, whatever. What I'm stating here is that when it comes to what people say, this is legal, is this legal, is that legal, and everything like that, monogamy was not the regulation of it all. It was polygyny was what it was. Polygyny was normal. It wasn't, it was another form of marriage. You had options, you had a choice. It wasn't this regulation that said, well, you can't do this, but you can do this one. This one is okay, but this one is not. Just that's that clarification there, because we know that we get people to say, well, polygyny wasn't always this and that and the other. So, but the thing is being able to be emotional intelligent enough to even be able to hear those things that we state, hear the things that are trained on and are spoken about when it comes to polygyny, and not to get so hell bent in our emotions about what's right and what's wrong when it comes to a form of marriage that has been allowed by the Most High.
Right.
Being emotionally intelligent is very important. It's being able to understand, being able to use your emotions, being able to understand your emotions and understand emotions, period, in a way where you are able to be positive about it in a positive way. And I'm not saying that everything has to just be on the up and up and everything. I mean, everything has to be just all hunky dory. Just saying that it's being used in a positive way, a beneficial way, something that's going to be beneficial to you and not destructive or detrimental to your life or your relationships. So, yeah.
And then sometimes part of being emotionally intelligent is checking the climate of what you're doing in the moment. We love to kind of check in on others and check the climate and tell them. So it's okay to have a healthy ego where it has limits and say, well, I give myself a little pat on the back. I kind of help that. I help problem solve. Yay, me, yay, growth. Yeah. But when we're leading with our ego, we can't see past it sometimes. We get so upset, and the willingness to be right every time can overtake us, and it can be very blinding. So when our spouses are met with that, well, I'm right, whether you agree with it or not. So I'd rather have the ability to be right than have peace. So oftentimes, especially in polygyny, it's really easy to lead with emotion and ego and ask someone else to fix a situation. So self-awareness, that's another big thing. And we've trained on that a lot. So there's self-awareness, yes. But then there's also, especially in polygyny, situational awareness. So we know that our husbands can give us this much time. So when if we ask for more than that from them, we have to understand the situation that he's in. We have to understand the situation that we're in, and we have to, you don't have to do anything, but best practices for best results is understanding the situations that our co-wife or wives are in, knowing that there's other parts to the equation. Although you're monogamously married to your husband and that's your marriage, there's more to it than just that. It's more to it than what we just see. We have to dig deeper and go, okay, Somebody might be sick at my co-wife's house. He might have to leave in the case of an emergency. And that can be okay. But if we tell ourselves it's not okay, then that's all we're going to hear. It ain't okay. I don't care. I don't like it. You know, the beauty of not liking things, it's okay if you don't like something, but to disrespect it is a whole nother realm. If you have some irritation, that's one thing. But to take action and go, I'm gonna just disrespect that whole thing. So I'll give you an example. Some women will say, I don't like polygamy for me, or she's not a wife to me. I don't think she's a real wife. So I said, okay, if I say this my co-wife's not a real wife, then I'm falling into the trap of the disrespect that somebody else is trying to just submit into my life. So I just never went for it. I'm like, no, we're not going to say baby mama. We're not going to say those things and be disrespectful toward someone else's journey. But when you want to say, okay, I don't care. I don't care about her being, lawful. I care about the legal aspect. So a lot of that is a lot of it is ego driven, and it needs to be corrected. So being emotionally intelligent is understanding that other people have emotions as well. It's not just us.
I agree, of course.
Wrong again.
I agree. Because when it comes to being emotionally intelligent and stretching your emotional bandwidth, being able to know what that means, like relieving the stress, being able to relieve stress. When you stated being able to, or saying these negative things about your co-wife, that causes more stress in the marriage. That causes stress in your marriage, regardless of if you want to see it or not, or believe it or not. It causes that stress because now you have the what did they say? The enemy within, where now you are doing a couple of things where if you're not aware of, you could be questioning your husband's judgment. You are disrespecting a person who he actually married. He wouldn't allow that for you, and you wouldn't want him to. It also creates this problem area where it's like, can I trust? This trust area. And I know we'll get, of course, we'll get into that too later on, where we talk about and get into trust, that trust barrier, or breaking that trust, and how that affects, our emotions, and how to be able to not allow it to affect it in a way that is negative, but being able to communicate about that, because what we may believe or what we may think may not be the same to the other person. The other person probably didn't even know that that's what it was. And I think you talk about it a number of times, where it's these unspoken rules, or these unspoken things that you expect to happen, these unspoken expectations of what this should look like or what this may be. But we know that when it comes to increasing your emotional bandwidth, it's about being able to have the difficult conversations, or the uncomfortable conversations, or even going back and saying, wow, we didn't even speak about this. Now it's time to talk about this. But being able to be mature enough to say, we didn't talk about it then. It did cause some rift. Let's talk about it now. Let's talk about this now. And not only just talking about it, but being able to hear each other, being able to understand each other, being able to work out any type of differences and discrepancies. And of course, I'm going to put a disclaimer out to really quickly, just because sometimes people get it twisted. So we want to make sure you understand that we are talking about healthy, growth intended marriages. We know that there are narcissists out there. We know that there are predators out there. We know that they exist. And we are not giving a pass to any of that. We're not saying, well, you make sure you work on you and make sure that your emotions are all the way good and tied into success and building and everything like that, when you're in a dangerous place. Yes, you should do that for you. But when it comes to your space, you want to make sure that it's something that is going to be a fulfillment base.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not talking about those. We're talking about the healthy marriages that are going towards fulfillment in there.
Yeah, I'm so glad Coach Nyla brought that up, because people just jump on us and say, look, all brothers ain't like that, and a lot of husbands are not observing what they're supposed to observe. We know. We've coached many women, so we're not going to act like there's not a lot going on in the areas of marriage that is dealing with abuse and narcissism and this lack of consistency. Because some brothers, it's they got this wolf in sheep's clothing thing going on, and you have serial polygynists, and it's changing wives all the time, divorcing, marrying, divorcing, marrying. We know that this happens. So speaking about these things, training about them, especially in our polygyny masterclass, it's important to discuss, because the more we have these discussions, the more we're bringing these things out and these concerns out and these abuses out. But we're talking about two healthy, willing people that want to win as a couple. And that's that question. Do we want to win? We want our husbands to win. We want our family to win, because when he wins, we all win. We're not talking about the people that have the disease in their heart and think, okay, this is just for me. Y'all just bow down to me. That's not what we're talking about. And we want to be clear on that. So it's so much to say in the way of how we talk to ourselves, about our marriage, about our spouse, about our co-wife, about our children, about our bonus babies. So communication is huge. It's a huge thing. And having the hard conversations, like you were saying, Coach Nyla, is big. Maybe you didn't have it right away, but there's still time to have it. And you might need to have more than one, So part of emotional intelligence also is knowing that our husbands have emotions as well. And they might not have every little thing figured out. My co-wife and I were talking about this, the assumption that the initial wife, and this could be the subsequent wife too, is the old thing. So I got to go over here and get this new toy to play with. This is what the men are allegedly saying. Or my husband doesn't love me anymore. Because again, people think this is really just an initial wife thing, but there are men that have more than two wives. So the subsequent wives can feel this as well. I've known personally subsequent wives, the second wife, and then the third comes in and she's going, that's the new wife. She's brand new, like a brand new Buick. I'm like, she's not a car, she's a person, so don't think, because they think it's just, it's initial wives only feel this. Only initial wives feel jealousy. Only initial wives feel insecurity or loneliness or whatever the case may be, or feelings of betrayal. And it's just not true. And I said, men are interesting, and people are in general, but I said, no amount of marrying again will a husband go, well, here's the new wife. I don't love you anymore. Because my next question was, well, when did he say that to you? And then the sister will go, oh, he never said he didn't love me anymore. I said, yeah, but you assumed it. Because it's easy, especially in the West, if somebody got somebody new, they don't like you, or they can't love you at the same time. And we're both mothers, and we have children at the same time, and we love them at the same time. It's so interesting. But when it comes to more than one wife, that impossible. You can't do that. That's not true. Men can, but that doesn't mean they love us any less. It doesn't mean polygyny is somehow our fault. So if Coach Nazir got a third wife, it's your fault. It's not true. Something wrong with you. Because if I turned to Coach Nyla and I said that, if he got another wife, something wrong with you. You're old thing, younger than you, you're deficient. People go, oh, Coach Fatimah, that was mean. You shouldn't talk to your co-wife like that. Well, why not? Because this is how you talk to yourselves. So we have to be really careful about how we communicate, not only with others, but to us, and how we assume that we're deficient. We're deficient. No matter the sequence of wives, it can happen to maybe not that fourth one, though. She might, I don't know, go reverse.
Yes, I think so. I believe so. And I know that we had a number of co-wives who came in, subsequent wives that came in after the second, so third, fourth wives. And that is a thing. The thing is not that it has to be that if someone comes after you and then you're feeling deficient. I mean, I know from experience, that's not the thing, that wasn't with me. And I know that, and when it comes to that emotional intelligence or lack thereof, and the lack of emotional bandwidth that I had at that time, it was feeling these insecurities, and I would kind of break it down in a couple of things, or in about 5 parts when it comes to the emotional bandwidth and emotional intelligence: the self-awareness, the empathy, the social skills or social awareness, motivation, and self-regulation. Am I on the up and up with those? Do I know what my triggers are?
Right.
And those are things where a number of clients thought, just like I did, thought that here it is. We at least know, we know us.
Right.
we know
we
what would tick us off, or we know these things. And then later on in life, something else would trigger a response or a reaction in a way. And we're like, oh, I don't know where that came from. That came left field.
Right.
I don't know why that was the case. And then we'll have to dig deeper and to see, was it any type of childhood trauma? Was it any type of something that may have happened in the marriage that you kind of pushed aside, didn't have that courageous communication about, that it did bother you, but you say, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. Or that's the way he is, or something on the lines of that. And then it just ate at you, or you thought you put it to the back burner, and it was something that he did and it triggered this thing. And then now it blew up into something crazy. That's when we have to look and say, well, what does that self-awareness look like for us? Excuse me. And then the empathy, caring for other people, caring for ourselves, but definitely caring for other people, caring for our husbands, caring for our co-wives, having that where it doesn't have to be where you're just besties or anything like that when it comes to your co-wife, or that you have to understand every single thing that there is about your husband. But being able to say, you know what, like my co-wife said just earlier, that he is a person too. He has feelings as well. He may not show it the way that we will show it. Right. We wouldn't want him to, for one, right. And I'm pretty sure there was a number of women that say that. It was like, well, if he expresses emotions like I express mine, it'll be a little weird, but being able to empathize with the stresses and the struggles that your husband goes through in polygyny.
Assalamu alaikum, peace. I'm Coach Nazir.
And I'm his wife, Coach Fatimah.
And I'm Coach Nyla. I am also his wife.
We are the founders of Outstanding Personal Relationships, as well as authors of the new book, Let's Talk Polygyny Uncensored. We created a polygamy masterclass, and it doesn't matter your faith or your background, your culture, specifically for men, and one specifically for women, because we did not have the resources over the past dozen years. So if you ever had concerns or issues or challenges or questions about situations like
insecurity, jealousy, and sometimes anger, and not knowing what your role is anymore in your own family.
I'm feeling guilty of, I'm hurting, or feeling like you're hurting someone, or you're breaking up a family, or feeling like a home wrecker because society doesn't agree with the marriage choice that you decided.
Right, we're trying to determine if your leadership is really up to par, and if you have the proper emotional aptitude to deal with the new dynamics that polygamy may bring. How is my family gonna react?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Do I notify my first wife first? Do I do it later? Do I keep stuff secret? All kinds of different things, as well as can love even be equal?
Exactly.
When it comes to how to manage money and time effectively so that you're being fair and just with your wife. So all of these things are extremely important when it comes to learning about polygamy and knowing how to, what's called, do it right.
Right.
All right? So if you want the best practices and learn from those who've already been there and done that and working with it and literally helped over thousands and thousands of people, then you make sure to click the button to get the full details of each course, or the bundle button below to join the first of its kind polygamy masterclass.
so you can grow intentionally
Love fearlessly.
and connect on a higher level.
every single day.
Look forward to seeing you as students.
Assalamu alaikum.
Peace.
Peace.